Yeah, so I'm back. Stop the search party. I'm here. I hope you can hear me now. You know, it always helps to turn on the microphone. Listen, it's been a little bit of a trying time. Montreal's back in shutdown mode. Last week we closed all the bars and restaurants to anything but takeout, and then this week they decided to close the gyms, theaters, all that sort of shit. Can you hear me now, Lisa? Should be able to hear me now. One of my kids is home. She's healthy, but her class is closed, so it's back to homeschooling. You know, the dream lasted like, I don't know, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I'm particularly pissed about them closing the gyms, man. That was keeping me sane, getting my exercise in, which reminds me of what happened today. So they're closing the gyms tomorrow night. Can you hear me now, Lisa? Yeah, it's a little things for sure, but so I realized that this is becoming like Adventures of Logan at the gym because they keep talking about it. First it was me grunting too much, then it was Smelly Guy, and now get this situation. So I go to the gym, and it's not a very large gym, but it's literally empty. So Monday I was the only person there. I'm there for an hour, 15 minutes, only person there besides a lady behind the desk who's very nice. I speak to her every day. But today I go in, and there's this woman running on the treadmill. I go to the treadmill beside her and I run just to get warmed up, just 5 minutes light jog, just to get that heart rate up, get the blood flowing to all the extremities. So I finish. She's still running when I'm done, but it's leg day, so I have my belt. I got some chalk. I got my water bottle, my keys, my phone. I got all sorts of shit, all sorts of accoutrement, right? Because I don't like to run with that stuff, so I always just put it on the ledge. So I go to grab that stuff. I'm gonna walk over to the squat rack and put it down. When she says to me, something, right? But I have my headphones in, I can't hear. So I take one out, and I'm like, I'm sorry, what? And she goes, you should clean the machine. Okay, you know the rules. Cleaning the machine, hygiene, all that jazz, COVID rules. So I'm like, oh yeah, sure, I will. And I start to walk away because I got all this crap. I'm just gonna go put it down. And she goes, the cleaning product is right there. So I said, okay, thanks. And I start to walk away, and she calls me an asshole. I'm like, what the fuck? So I said, I'm sorry, what did you say? She called me an asshole again. I'm like, all right. And then, we had a little bit of a confrontation there. In the end, I cleaned the machine, like I was planning on doing, and and then I went and completed my workout. But she's just mean mugging me the whole time. At one point, after squats, I go to do the leg press, and I clean it. I'm cleaning everything, right? And then she wants to use it next, so she comes over. Of course she wants to use it next, right? Like, there's thousands of pieces of empty equipment. And she fucking sprays it like, I don't know, like it was, the ICU at the hospital. She's spraying it, wiping it down. I'm like, okay, you made your point, I guess. Then when I'm leaving, the woman who works there, the girl had just left before me. She goes, oh, what did she say to you? I said, well, she told me to clean my equipment. I said I would. And then she called me an asshole. And then I had some choice words for her. And she's like, that woman is so mean. All she does is tells everybody off. I'm like, well, what the fuck? What's going on? She goes, I tell her not to bother the guests, but she always does. So I was like, all right, whatever. So that was the latest adventure. And they're closing the gyms tomorrow. So looks like we're going to be out of gym stories for the next 3 weeks. They say they're closing it for 3 weeks until the 28th of October. But if I'm honest with you guys, I'm thinking they're going to close it for a lot longer. We shall see. I'm going to try to stay sane. I'm going to try to do some cardio. Cardio. Maybe I got some, like, these bands that I made that I got hooked to a tree and do some exercises. But, you know, it sucks. It's not like pushing some heavy weight, getting ready for the stream. All right, so, well, we're back today. I'm just dealing with all this shit. Not the gym stuff, but with the lockdown and changes and just mentally trying to get in the right frame of mind to put some words on the page. I realized that the last time I spoke to you guys, I was doing that Call of Duty stream, which was admittedly not great. I mean, we suck like horribly. We sucked horribly. We had that one good game, and then the rest were brutal. And we kept pulling out of games because it wasn't about how many games you play. It was like uploading your 3 best. So if we had a horrible start, we'd just keep jumping in and out. But it was a lot of fun. It was the night for the boys, so it was good to keep up with them or catch up with them, have a chat, that sort of thing, and have some fun, and maybe an apple juice or two. So I don't know if I'm going to do that again. Maybe. I wouldn't have done it except for the fact the tournament required a person to stream, and because I've already got this set up, I figured, what the hell. Maybe in the future when we're a bit better, I'll play another tourney and you could watch a big dub. We'll see. Today, though, we're going to get back to writing. Deadlines are fast approaching. I had a couple questions emailed to me about Sacrifice, supposed to come up in October. It's a great month for it to come out, of course, because of Halloween, although I think Halloween is probably going to be canceled, at least to some degree. That being said, I'm not really sure if we're going to get the Sacrifice out. I just have so many deadlines. I think I've pushed a few back, given the whole situation here and, most of the world, and I've pushed a few back, and then what happens is I get that flexibility of, I gained another month, but I already had a book on pre-order for the end of the month, so now I have them stacked up. So either it's going to be an amazing month where I have like 50 new releases, or it's going to be, shit, I got to get 2 or 3 of these out before you guys, come from my head. But right now, we're working on Adverse Effects, the 8th book in the series. Super stoked to keep going on it. The last few days, I haven't been doing nothing. I've been doing a lot of thinking about this book, and as I said to you guys before, I know where it's going, but some of the nuances came to me in the wee hours of the morning when I had difficulty sleeping. So we're gonna do that today. How you guys been, man? It's been a few days. It's been a hot minute since I've chatted with you. I'm still hoping to have a guest speaker on, maybe not this Friday, but next Friday. I'm not really sure. But the after hours, in case you guys missed it, was super, super fun. I want to do that again, interview some other big name authors, see how they're dealing with this whole change in the world. I know a lot of writers have said their stats and their sales have gone up in COVID. Mine haven't. Mine have gone down. I don't really know why. People ask me, why do you think that is? I think maybe because a lot of people aren't commuting to work anymore, and that's when they read a lot of books. Other times they're just super, super tired from looking after their kids all day, and their downtime, maybe they prefer to watch movies instead of getting into a book. But that's the reality. So hopefully things pick up a little bit here. But I'm super grateful that I have a job. I realize that the fact that the gyms have closed down is a pain in the ass for me, and it pisses me off. But there are people out there super sick, so I'm cognizant of that. I don't want to seem like this super first world problems type of guy. Shit's good. We're healthy. I appreciate all the comments on the Facebook page there. When I was kind of bummed, I wrote that message saying I wouldn't be on Monday, and then I skipped yesterday as well. But I appreciate you guys' thoughts. Everyone is safe. Everyone is healthy. We're just trying to get through this 2020 ridiculous year that it is, and hopefully 2021 improves a little bit. Lisa Brooke, thank you for the like. Zooks911, thank you for the follow. Ailey, Scott, and Rose, Tina, thank you very much for the follows and the likes. Really appreciate it, guys. Oh yeah, an update on merch. So my stuff is still in the mail. I don't know where the hell it's coming from, but once I get it, and I'm gonna show it to you here live. Maybe I'll do an unboxing, and then I'll reveal the link to be able to get your own stuff. Support your favorite character, be it Beckett, Chase, or Drake. You know, I didn't make any Tommy gear. I'm gonna have to do that. I think what would be good for Tommy. I wonder if they have like a hazmat suit that I could brand. Wild. What is his what is his company called? Wild Cleanup or something? Maybe I'll make some branded stuff. You're trying to give bits to you, won't let me. Yeah, I don't really know what's going on with Twitch. I think I need to get to a certain status before they allow you to give donations. But one of the things about, thanks Kathy, I'm glad you enjoyed the books. One of the things about, and thanks for like as well, about Twitch that I didn't realize is that I don't have this option yet. I'm just starting out there. But once I get the ability to gain subscribers, I think it's like $5 a month or something like that to support it, to support the stream. If you're an Amazon Prime member, you could support for free. So I think that means I get some Skrilla, and you guys are, you know, don't take anything out of pocket. I'll let you know when that happens, though. Like I said in the description, and like I'll continue to say, these streams are always going to be free. But if you really want to support it, there's a tip page. You can become a supporter of the fan page. Just helps out, gives me some freedom to hire people to do all of the graphics. That takes me about 7,000 times longer than a professional. With that being said, I'm glad you can make it. A free way to support the stream is like you guys have been doing. Just hit that like button. And hit that follow button. I think actually I'm gonna try something here. I think if you do exclamation point notify. Yeah, I think if you type that in the chat, then it will always notify you when I go live. I got an email from them about that. Oh, another thing about donations. The stars on Facebook, you give stars, and I think on Twitch you give bits. But on Facebook, the star thing, I don't have that access to that yet. I really don't know why, and it's been super frustrating because I can't find an email for these people. I write to one support group, and they just send me around in a circle. You think after spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, legitimately $100,000 on ads on Facebook, they'd be a little bit more accommodating, but I guess that's... they don't like... I'm still a little guy compared to some of these big corporations that spend millions upon millions. All right, so enough of that garbage. We're here to write. We're here to put some good words on the page. Set this up here. Here we are. We left off. I'm going to say yesterday to make myself feel better. It definitely wasn't yesterday, but we left off, and we had the dual Floyd and... Floyd and Chase kind of point of views. I'm just trying to remember exactly what happened. So we had Chase with her niece deciding what school they would go to, and her kind of apprehensive towards this. And then we had Floyd, who had just basically lost his marbles. He went to go tell the family of their kids had committed suicide. He managed with 2 of them, and then he just got the hell out of there. What's up, Vanessa? Thanks for joining, and thank you very much for the like. Much appreciated. So we're getting towards where I wanted to go, and basically that would have Chase and Floyd coming together. Obviously, we have this complication of Chase is the sole guardian of her niece, and we have to, I don't want to say offload. We got to offload her out of here. You got to get her out of here. She's got to go, and she's too young to stay by herself, obviously. I have a plan for that. Yeah, so yeah, we're gonna start with Chase today, guys. Oh, you slurp? This is pure ASMR now. Okay. This is like my 10th coffee today, plus the pre-workout, which is loaded full of caffeine. So there's gonna be a lot of BRBs as I use the bathroom. All right. Chapter 15, new paragraph. Chase was startled by a knock at the door, period. And she squeezed Georgina tightly, period. The girl grunted, comma, and Chase eased her embrace, period, new paragraph. I must have fallen asleep, comma, she thought, comma, looking around, period, new paragraph. She was lying on the couch with Georgina, comma, the latter cuddled up tight to her, comma, covered in a blanket, period. On TV was some silly show that was made for children, but had the occasional adult joke thrown in, period, new paragraph. She couldn't remember dozing off, comma, but when she glanced at the clock, she was surprised to see that it was coming on 8 in the evening, period, new paragraph. Open quote. Come on, comma, time to get ready for bed, comma, close quote, she said after clearing her throat, period. Georgina protested, comma, but Chase moved to a seating position, comma, forcing the young girl to do the same, period, new paragraph. There was another knock on the door, comma. This time, comma, Chase was confident that it had occurred and it wasn't the last vestiges of her dream, period, new paragraph. She was fully awake now, comma, and her grip once again tightened on Georgina's shoulder, period, new paragraph, open quote. Are you going to, M dash, close quote, new paragraph, open quote, quiet, comma, close quote. Chase hissed a little more loudly and aggressively than she had intended, period, new paragraph. Who the hell would come here at 8 p.m.? Question mark, new paragraph. They were in the middle of nowhere, comma, and she had never, comma, for the last 18 months she'd lived here, comma, had any visitors other than Louisa, period, new paragraph, and she always came during the middle of the day, comma, when her kids were in school and her husband was at work, period, new paragraph. Chase's eyes darted to the small wooden table by the door that upon which her cell phone sat idle, period, new paragraph. But when the knock came a third time and Chase rose to her feet and gestured for Georgina to remain silent, comma, she had little interest in the phone, period, new paragraph. Instead, comma, with her back to her niece, comma, she reached into the top drawer and pulled out her service pistol, period. Typically, comma, when someone left the FBI or any agency that allowed for you to carry a firearm, comma, you were required to relinquish it upon leaving, period, new paragraph. But there was nothing about Chase that was typical, and Director Hampton had reluctantly let her keep it, period, new paragraph. If he hadn't, comma, she would have made sure to get one of her own, period, new paragraph. With the gun in hand, comma, she leaned towards the door and looked through the eye hole, period, new paragraph. Open quote. What are you doing here? Question mark, close quote, she said, period, new paragraph, open quote. The boys wanted to visit, comma, close quote, Louisa answered, comma, an annoyed expression on her face, period, new paragraph. Chase, comma, still weary, comma, cast her glance to the left and right of the woman with the dark hair, period. Indeed, comma, X and Y were standing on either side, comma, their Smooth faces looking up at the door, comma, smiles on their faces, period, new paragraph, open quote. Louisa, comma, it's bedtime, comma, close quote. Chase remarked as she silently slid the gun back into the drawer and closed it, period. The paragraph, open quote. So what, comma, it's Friday, comma, close quote, Louisa said with a shrug, period, open quote. Open the door, comma. Chase, period, close quote in the paragraph. Chase, his hand reached out for the chain lock thingy, comma, but when she grabbed it, she didn't immediately slide it free, period, in the paragraph. Instead, comma, she pressed her forehead against the door and sighed deeply, period, in the paragraph. Open quote. Chase, question mark, close quote, new paragraph. It's not like she has school tomorrow, comma, Chase, period. Shaking her head now, comma, Chase unlocked the door and pulled it wide, period. The two young boys nearly barreled past her, comma, and Chase had to stand sideways to avoid being bowled over, period. Louisa immediately entered after them, comma, holding up a bottle of red wine, period, new paragraph, open quote. I wish you had called, comma, close quote, Chase said, comma, once again moving out of the way, period, new paragraph, open quote. Like you would have answered, comma, close quote, Louisa shot back, period, new paragraph. The woman took off her coat, threw it on the back of the couch, comma, and then proceeded to the kitchen to search through the drawers for a bottle opener. Corkscrew, period, new paragraph. Open quote. I'm X, comma, close quote, the taller of the two boys said, period. As he spoke, he brushed the hair that was too long and the bangs away from his eyes, period, new paragraph, open quote. And I'm Y, comma, close quote, the other boy said, period, new paragraph. Chase observed Georgina closely, comma, ready to intervene if the girl seemed overwhelmed or frightened in any way, period, new paragraph, but she was surprised to see her niece rise to her feet, comma, and hold out her hand, period. She shook both of them. X looked at her hand for a moment, comma, his tiny brow furrowing, period, new paragraph, instead of shaking it as Georgina clearly expected him to do, comma. He reared back and gave her a sideways high five, period, new paragraph. Y did the same, comma, and it was clear that he was in the habit of imitating whatever his older brother did, period, new paragraph, open quote. My name's Georgina, comma, close quote, she said, comma, but the boys had almost immediately lost interest, period. They plopped themselves down on the couch on either side of her, comma, their attention locked to the glowing box roughly 10 feet away, period, new paragraph, open quote. What you watching, question mark, close quote, new paragraph, open quote. Chase observed a few moments longer. Georgina for a few moments longer, comma, trying to gauge her reaction to this intrusion, comma. When Louisa approached, comma, 2 glasses of wine in hand, period, to paragraph, open quote. Geez, comma, Louisa, comma, close quote, Chase said, comma, observing the wine glass that was 2/3 full, period, new paragraph, open quote. Louisa shrugged, period, new paragraph, open quote. What can I say, question mark, my hand slipped, period, close quote, new paragraph. Chase took the glass, comma, looked at it, comma, and then back at Louisa, period, new paragraph. Typically, comma, given their past, comma, their history of addiction, comma, alcohol would have been off the table, period, new paragraph. Given both their past histories with addiction, comma, common sense would say that past alcohol was off the table, period, new paragraph. But neither were very good at common sense, period. And it wouldn't hurt. And it wouldn't hurt to take some of the edge off, period, new paragraph. Louisa clinked Chase's glass, comma, took a sip, comma, and then retreated to the table, period. Chase followed and took up a seat across from her, period, new paragraph, open quote. So, comma, given any more thought to schools? Question mark, close quote. New paragraph, Chase cast a glance towards Georgina and the two boys on the couch, period, new paragraph, open quote. Oh, comma, don't worry about them, comma. They can't hear anything with that thing on. Period. Mark says it's a good thing that they can focus so hard, comma, but I think they're being brainwashed, period, close quote, new paragraph. Chase raised an eyebrow, comma, not at the comment, comma, but at the fact that she'd mentioned Mark, period, new paragraph. Louisa had never mentioned her husband, period, new paragraph, open quote. Watch this, comma, close quote. Louisa continued, comma, her eyes drifting towards the television, period, open quote. X! Exclamation point. Y! Exclamation point. She said, comma, raising her voice, period. They didn't react, period, open quote. Hey, comma, you guys want a pint of ice cream? Question mark. A pint of some brownies? Question mark. Bag of Skittles? Question mark, close quote, in the paragraph. When neither of the three kids on the couch turned, comma, Louisa looked back at Chase, period, in the paragraph, open quote. See? Question mark, close quote, in the paragraph. Chase did see, comma, and like Mark, comma, she was a little annoyed at how into the TV that Georgina would get, period, into paragraph. So long as I'm here to monitor what she watches, comma, a thought materialized inside of her head, period, into paragraph, open quote. So what are you doing here, comma, Louisa, question mark, close quote. Chase asked again, period, to paragraph, open quote. Came to see how you're doing, period. And look, comma, the boys really wanted to see Georgina, period. I swear, comma, I didn't tell them anything. Dot, 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 close quote, into paragraph. Somehow, comma, Chase doubted that, period, into paragraph, open quote. Now, comma, about schools, question mark, close quote, into paragraph. Chase averted her eyes, and Louisa immediately picked up on this, period, new paragraph, open quote. So, comma, you have thought about it, period. Close quote, new paragraph. Chase chewed the inside of her lip, period, new paragraph, open quote. I was looking at Elmridge, comma, and M dash, close quote, new paragraph, open quote. Elmridge, question mark. You gotta be kidding me, comma, Chase, period. You can't send her to Elmridge, period. It's all hell. The fuck is that? I don't even know what that is. You can't send her to Elmridge, period. Close quote in the paragraph, open quote. Why not? Question mark, close quote. Chase said, comma, trying, comma, but failing, comma, not to get defensive, period, in the paragraph, open quote. Because you're not inbred enough, period. You have to send Georgina to Bishop's, period, close quote in the paragraph. Chase's frown intensified. Period. Chase's. Open quote. It's like an hour and a half away, period. It's like an hour and a half away. Period, close quote, to paragraph, open quote. So what? Question mark. It's not like you're working. question mark, close quote, new paragraph. It's not like you're working, question mark, close quote. And just like that, comma, the mention of the word work, comma, brought back memories of the telephone call that Floyd had given her just a day prior, period. Her eyes subconsciously drifted over to the cell phone that remained on the table by the front door, period. New paragraph, open quote. Wait, comma, you're not thinking about getting back to work, comma, are you, Chase? Question mark, close quote in a paragraph. The change in the woman's tone was alarming, comma, and Chase brought her attention front and center, period to paragraph, open quote. No, comma, close quote, she said sternly, period to paragraph. This time, comma, it was her own tone that was alarming, comma, not because of M dash, because it faltered, comma, if only a little, period to paragraph. Open quote. Ah, comma, I could see you're getting antsy, period. I knew what happened, period. When you told me you were gonna move here, comma, out to the sticks, comma, I just knew that eventually you would want to get back into work, period, close quote in the paragraph. Open quote. Chase remained silent as Louisa continued, comma, filling the empty air as she was always apt to do, period to paragraph, open quote. To be honest, comma, I don't think it's a bad idea, period, close quote in the paragraph. The comment surprised Chase. Comment. Open quote. No? Question mark, close quote in the paragraph. Louisa looked about the room, period to paragraph, open quote. You can't stay cooped up in here forever, comma, Chase, period. You gotta get out, comma, and while I don't know if the FBI is right for you, comma, it would be good to see some of your friends, period, close quote in the paragraph. Friends, new paragraph. It had been a long time since Chase had seen anybody but Louisa, period, new paragraph. Louisa took a large gulp of her wine and remained silent for several seconds, period new paragraph. In all the time that Chase had known Louisa, comma, this interval of maybe 6 seconds was the longest that she had ever gone without speaking, period new paragraph. And Chase didn't know what to make of that, period new paragraph, open quote. I'll tell you what, comma, Chase, period. Why don't you leave Georgina with me for a little while, comma. Just a couple of days, comma. Go see Floyd, comma. Clear your head a little bit, period. Close quote in the paragraph. Open quote. Yeah, comma, I doubt that'll help clear my head, period, close quote, new paragraph, open quote. You're probably right, comma, Chase, period, but you still need to get out, period, close quote, new paragraph. Chase was surprised that Louise's argument, comma, as soft as it was, comma, had started to worm its way through her mind, period, new paragraph. Maybe it would be okay to go see Floyd, comma, help him with this case, period. I wouldn't have to be officially on the case, comma. I could just give some insight and M dash new paragraph. A sudden rattling sound caused Chase to jump, period. Her elbow knocked her wine, comma, spilling the dark red liquid on the table, period new paragraph, open quote. Shit, comma, close quote, she cursed, period new paragraph, open quote. Chase! Exclamation point, close quote, new paragraph. Georgina snapped, period, new paragraph, open quote. Sorry, comma, close quote. Chase grumbled, period, new paragraph. While what Louisa had said was true, comma, the kids could never pull their eyes away from the TV, comma, and wouldn't hear any command you gave them, comma, offer one little curse, comma, and they were all over you, period, new paragraph. Open quote. I'll get that, comma, close quote, Louisa said, comma, rising to her feet and reaching for the paper towel roll behind them, period. New paragraph. Open quote. You sure? Question mark, close quote, new paragraph, open quote. I'll get that, comma, close quote, Louisa repeated, comma. Open quote. If you get that. New paragraph. Louisa didn't need to specify what that was, semicolon. She clearly meant the phone, period, new paragraph. The problem was, comma, Chase didn't know if she wanted to answer the phone, period, new paragraph. She didn't know if she wanted to get back into the life that had taken so much from her, comma, least of all her sister, period, new paragraph. But maybe Chase... Louise was right, comma, maybe it would do her some good to see some other people, period, new paragraph. As she reached for her phone and picked it up, comma, her eyes drifted once more to Georgina sitting on the couch, comma, laughing along with the boys at something stupid on television, period, new paragraph. Maybe it would be good for me, comma, and maybe it would be good for her, comma, Chase thought as she pressed the answer button and slowly brought the phone to her ear, period. All right, special delivery there, sandwich. I'm very appreciative of that. I don't know how I'm going to eat it and dictate, but, you know, first world problems. Okay, X and Y sound like Billy, but I don't know what the fuck their names are, man. I just said them like a couple days ago, but I can't remember that, so I didn't want to slow it down. X and Y. It does sound pretty funny, though. Yeah, Dragon is having a bit of a conniption today. I don't know, it put a bullet point in there. Like, it clearly did not say bullet point. Although I wonder if I say bullet point, like in reference to an actual ammunition, if it would put a bullet point. I don't know. Not going to test it. The ghosts are writing for you. Welcome to October. Well, the ghosts are more than welcome to put a few pages together. All your kids bring you messes. Yeah, well, mine aren't that neat either. But occasionally, they bring you sandwiches. Olives, too, with pits. That's going to be a tough one to dictate with all pits in your mouth. I'm going to leave that, but I need to but we got some hydration station. I'm going to be right back. Just got to go to the bathroom. Give me 1 second. All right, I'm back. Oh, she made it herself. Yeah, no, I'm very lucky to have the sandwich delivery. It looks amazing. I have to thank, obviously, Abby who prepared this, but my neighbor, he owns a, I don't know what you would call it, like a hot like a Italian grocery store that also serves hot meals, does catering and pizza and that sort of thing. Best pizza in the city for sure, up there with Magpies. But he made a special delivery yesterday of fresh pasta, tons of sauces, meatballs, and a shit ton of meat. For my birthday this year, Ashley got me a deli slicer, which has been amazing. It's one of those big silver things, right? You put the huge block of whatever pastrami, and you get to slice it super thin. So he's always been providing me with the material for that, with the meat, and yeah, big ups to him, big props to him. I think it's called Les Pâtes Fraîches in Montreal. If you guys are ever in the East End, highly recommend checking it out. Yeah, and maybe he'll give you a discount if you mention me. I'll make him do it. He lives across the street, so. Yeah, so about the story, we're getting to where I want to go. Again, like I mentioned this last time, it's going a little bit too slow for my taste, but it's much easier for me just to put a lot of words on the page and then go cut it afterwards. It's much harder to take to add stuff in. And La Maison de Pâtes Fraîches. All right, cool. That's what it is right there, if you guys are interested. And the reason why... Oh my god. Sorry, Dragon's really having problems. The reason why is because I have to go back into the story, right? So here I'm just in the story still. I'm story mode, so I can just keep going, and I can do like tons of inner thoughts, and then later I'll take those out. But if I have to add them in later, then I have to really get into story mode. And as you can see, as you guys know from watching these sessions, it really takes a while to get in there. So I prefer to do it this way. So it seems a little bit long-winded. That's okay. I'm 15 chapters deep, and I realize that not much has happened yet. At least on chases, so maybe I'll cut back by 10 or 20% of that, get some more action. You guys like the action? Okay, we got a like from Trevor. What's up, Trevor? Thanks for joining again, man. Appreciate the like. I got a couple more comments here I'll get to. Oh, glad I'm back. Yeah. I'm back, my man. Like I'm saying, the goal really is to get on this and to do it every weekday. And that's what I intend to do at 10 o'clock exactly. Never late. And my goal actually is, so it's Wednesday. Maybe I'll try to get this book done this week. If I can really crank out Thursday, Friday, and maybe I'll do a Saturday session. Try to get this done. We're gonna be back with Floyd's perspective now. And then things are going to kind of come together. Sip of water. Oh, I forgot music. Let's go. Let's put some tunes on. Find my lo-fi beats here. Lo-fi hip-hop. Can you guys hear that, or is it too low for you? There you go, just some chill music. Chapter 16, new paragraph. Open quote. Floyd? Question mark, close quote. The paragraph. Open quote. No, comma, it's me, comma, Detective Dunbar, comma, close quote. Dunbar waited for Chase to speak up, comma. Impatiently for Chase to speak up, period, new paragraph, open quote. How, how are you? Question mark, close quote. It was an awkward and forced question, comma, something that indicated that Chase was still indecisive about speaking with Dunbar or Floyd, comma, from whom's phone he was calling, period, paragraph, open quote. I'm okay, comma, Chase, period. I'm doing all right, period. How are you? Question mark, close quote, the paragraph, open quote. How are you? Question mark. Close quote. Thankfully, comma, Chase cared for idle chit-chat as much as he did, period, new paragraph, open quote. Fine, comma, she said abruptly, period, open quote. What can I help you with? Question mark, close quote, new paragraph. Dunbar would have liked her to follow up with something along the lines of, how's the case going, comma, or how can I help, comma. But it was clear that she was waiting for him to speak, comma, which was only fair given the fact that Dunbar was the one who had called her, period, the paragraph, open quote. Chase, comma. We need your help here, period. Floyd has ... Close quote. As he said the man's name, comma, Dunbar looked down at Floyd, who was seated across the table from him, comma, his head hung low, comma, his hands on the cup of coffee in the styrofoam cup, period. If he stared closely enough, comma, Dunbar could see that his man's thin, dark fingers were trembling so slightly, period. Open quote. Well, comma, it's been difficult, period. Close quote in the paragraph. Open quote. Difficult? Question mark. Who's he partnered up with? Question mark. Close quote in the paragraph. Open quote. No partner, comma. Close quote. Dunbar confirmed. Period. Floyd looked up then, comma. His eyes wide. Period. New paragraph. Open quote. He's here by himself, comma. Open quote. What? Question mark. By himself? Question mark. Close quote. New paragraph. Open quote. Yep, comma. Apparently, comma, the FBI is stretched pretty thin, comma, and the suicide of 4 girls doesn't investigating the suicide of 4 girls isn't high on their priority list, period. In fact, comma, I think that if it weren't for me asking for Floyd directly, comma, they wouldn't have sent anybody at all, period, close quote, in the paragraph. Another pause, period, new paragraph, open quote. Chase, question mark, are you still M dash, close quote, new paragraph, open quote. Why did they send Floyd, question mark, close quote. She interrupted, period, new paragraph. Dunbar shrugged, comma, his eyes still fixated on Floyd's trembling fingers, period to paragraph, upper quote. Like I said, comma, maybe they're just M dash close quote into paragraph, upper quote. No, comma, what I mean is, comma, why did they send anybody at all? Question mark. As sad as it is that these girls jumped in front of that subway train, comma, it's not a... There's no general threat to anybody else, period. This wasn't a terrorist act, comma. Period, close quote, in the paragraph. Dunbar blinked. Period. He knew that Chase was apt to cut to the point, comma, that her dislike for idle chit-chat transcended to euphemisms and skirting the real issues, period. But the way that she parsed down the death of 4 young, comma, beautiful teenage girls who, by all accounts, were popular and happy, comma, was off-putting, period, in the paragraph. Open quote. No, comma, not a terrorist act, period, but we still need to figure out why they did it. Period, close quote, in the paragraph. Truth be told, comma, this is the best thing that Dunbar could come up with, period. Thankfully, comma, Chase seemed to go with it, period, to paragraph, open quote. Have you spoken to the parents, question mark, teachers, question mark, psychiatrists, comma, that sort of thing, question mark, close quote, new paragraph. Dunbar couldn't help the small smile that crept onto his lips despite the subject matter that they were discussing, semicolon. This was the Chase that he knew, period, new paragraph. This was the Chase that was willing to help, period, new paragraph. But there's only so much he could do from afar, comma. The real trick would be getting her here, comma, getting her to New York and teaming up with Floyd, period, new paragraph, open quote. Like the FBI, comma, we're stretched pretty thin as well, period. I sent Floyd to go talk to the parents and close quote, new paragraph. Dunbar was at a loss of words to verbalize what Floyd had done, or rather, comma, what he hadn't done, period, new paragraph. He didn't want to insult the man, comma, didn't want to grind salt into his open wound, comma, but he also knew that if he wanted Chase to come help, comma, he had to make sure that he was as candid as possible, period, new paragraph, open quote. Let me guess, comma, he's sitting right there beside you, question mark, close quote, in the paragraph. And now Dunbar looked away, comma, subconsciously, period, new paragraph, open quote. Yep, period, close quote, in the paragraph, open quote. Okay, comma, so he went to go talk to the parents and had a bit of a episode. Breakdown, question mark. How many cops did you send with him? Question mark. You know that he's young, comma. You know that he just started in the FBI. Period, close quote. This last part was issued as a statement and not a question. And Dunbar did his best not to take offense, period, new paragraph, open quote. He went alone, period, close quote, new paragraph, open quote. You can't be serious, period, close quote, new paragraph. Dunbar sighed, period, new paragraph, open quote. Listen, comma, Chase, comma, we could really use your help on this one. Period. Close quote. Is there any way that you could make your way to New York? Question mark. I would be very grateful, M dash, as would Floyd, period, close quote, in a paragraph. The pause that ensued was the longest since the Chase had picked up the phone. Period. Dunbar didn't know whether or not this was a good thing or a bad thing. Period. New paragraph. Open quote. Chase? Question mark. Close quote. New paragraph. When Chase finally answered, comma, her voice was hoarse and dry sounding. Period. New paragraph. Open quote. I can't, comma, close quote. She said softly. Period. New paragraph. Dunbar exhaled loudly. Period. New paragraph. Open quote. But we need M dash close quote. New paragraph. Open quote. I'm sorry, comma, Dunbar. Period. But I have a niece here, comma, someone who needs me. Period. I can't just pack up and go to New York City, period. I can't go and talk to parents and be an errand girl for you guys anymore, period. I'm done with that life, period. If there was a real crime or a risk to others, comma, maybe, ... But I can't do it, period. I'm so sorry, period. Tell Floyd I'm sorry, period. Close quote in the paragraph. Dunbar pinched the bridge of his nose with his free hand, period, in paragraph, open quote. All right, comma, Chase, period. Thanks anyway, period, close quote in the paragraph. He was about to hang up the phone when Chase's voice kept on the line for a moment longer, period, in the paragraph. Open quote. Dunbar, comma, you looked after Floyd, comma, would you, question mark? Close quote in the paragraph. Dunbar opened his eyes and looked at Floyd, comma, who had clearly, from just hearing half the conversation, had figured out what Chase's answer had been, period, to paragraph. If he had been crestfallen before, comma, now he seemed veritably crushed, period, to paragraph, open quote. I'll do my best, comma, Chase, period. I'll do my best, period, close quote. All right. What's up, Andy? Thank you very much for the like, much appreciated. I just noticed that my little spinning pathological ink thing kind of blips at the end, which is quite annoying to me. See if this one doesn't. All right, so actually, to be honest with you, starting that chapter, I thought that Chase was gonna go, but I think this is more reasonable. She needs a final push, and that will happen. I mean, I hinted to it a little bit when she says, unless there's immediate danger to other people, I won't come. So you can kind of guess, a little foreshadowing, if you will. You can guess what's going to happen. But yeah, I'm happy about that. Actually, when I started that chapter, it was supposed to be a Floyd chapter. It became a Dunbar chapter. And halfway through, I was thinking, in my mind, I'm going to switch this to Floyd. And, but by the end, I decided, I think I'm just going to keep it as a Dunbar chapter. I kind of like getting... You can only go so much into a person's head, like Floyd, his problems dealing with what's happening, or any character in general, before it just becomes a little bit redundant and a little bit like a piling on. So, and it's not a Floyd book, obviously, it's a Chase book. So I kind of like the different perspective of Dunbar looking at him. So Dunbar is seeing his his difficulties from afar. Floyd's difficulties. A little bipolar, yeah. Yeah. So that's I'm just working out how I'm gonna get Louisa to leave now. Get your kids, X and Y. Get. So we'll see. I'm gonna try to push her away. Okay, so yeah, no, I wasn't just zoning out. I'm thinking that this is what's gonna happen. I was just thinking about how to get to where I want to get. Oh wow, I reset it by accident. Whoops. So I think what's gonna happen is the following. We're gonna have Louisa go home, and then Georgina's gonna be a little bit annoyed with Chase. The next day they're gonna go to Elm Ridge and look at the school, and Chase is not gonna like it. Georgina's not gonna like it. Meanwhile, Dunbar and Floyd are going to talk to the rest of the parents, and there are going to be some big hints or clues that are dropped during the speaking to the parents. And then Chase and Georgina will get into a little fight about where she's going to go to school, and then there will be an event that will happen that will cause Chase to reach out to Floyd and finally offer her help. So I actually think this is, even though it's a bit long, the book's going to be longer. You know, by this point, that much to me is obvious. But I think the first part, that as of yet has no name, part 1, I don't know, it's going to be something like, it's going to be all about Chase getting to the point where she wants to go back to the FBI. So I think that rounds it out nicely. I think maybe like 3 or 4 more chapters. Sometimes if I get to this point, I will, and I have like a clear direction of where I want the next little bit to go, and to keep me on track, because I feel like I'm wandering a little bit. And I will admit though, because I don't plot, I'm pretty sure the pace is a bit slower and it gets a little meandering. So occasionally I'll do something like this where I line up the next few chapters and I'll put a few words where I want the chapter to go. And really the chapter, just putting those words are kind of placeholders. And oftentimes what I write will be split over 2 different chapters, but it just keeps me on track. So I think here I'll just write Chase visits, just what I told you, just a quick reminder. Elm Ridge, Regina, and she are not happy. Dude, Terry Grammer, I know. Visit the 2 other parents. I'm a little hesitant about what I want to write here, just because I don't want to give away any spoilers. So that's why this one sounds so ridiculous. I know it's silly. Like, obviously there are gonna be spoilers. I'm telling you the book, but I still, as an author who wants to hold a little bit back, I did this with Strawman too. I didn't reveal the big twist, even though I could have, because I really knew that was gonna happen very, very early on when I started writing that book. And for you guys who weren't there or forget, it was a pretty big one, a whopper. It was a whopper. All right, here we go. So we got, they visit, boom. Georgina in a fight wants to go to Bishop's, yells at Chase. Chase realizes many time apart. Dunbar and Floyd get a call, and then chapter 21. Chase hears on the news, which is out to Dunbar, Louisa. All right. So that's going to be the next few chapters. I think I'm going to try to get through these before I break for the sandwich. Poor Abby made me the sandwich and it's getting cold. Nah, it was cold anyways. It's getting soggy. But I'm not going to eat on camera. A lot of streamers do that, by the way. They eat while they're playing video games or whatever, but it's a little different when you have to speak the whole time. I mean, Dragon's having hard enough time picking up my words when I'm speaking normally. Wife says I mumble. Maybe it's true. I don't know. Maybe that's why Dragon is having a conniption today. Who knows? We're already at 20,000 words there, chat. Look at that. 21,000 words. I think that bodes well, because if we can get to 25,000 words for this first part, it'll be a bit over that. But let's say after I cut it down, it's 25,000 words. The second part, like as I mentioned to you guys, the second part is going to be investigating why these girls committed suicide, and that the reveal there. And if that can make that 25,000 words. And the third part would be about as I mentioned earlier, there'll be kind of like these two crimes, and that will be about that second crime, and so that will be another 25,000 words. So I'm thinking that works out pretty good. 75,000 words. It's like a medium-sized book. I don't know, 330 pages. I'll be happy with that. Crank this out. Hopefully I get it done by maybe do another hour or so. Just stalling because I know I'm gonna get in the zone here. Thanks, Victoria. Much appreciated. Okay. Open quote. Turn on Dragon first. Open quote. This is the school? Question mark, close quote. Georgina asked, comma. Her voice dripping with disdain, period to paragraph. Chase turned her eyes to look out the window at the drab green rectangle. Period. She couldn't tell if the thing had been painted green or if it had only changed that to that color after years of weather abuse. Period to paragraph, open quote. It's not it's not that bad, comma, close quote, she remarked. Period. New paragraph, open quote. Not that bad, question mark. It's ugly with a capital U, period, close quote, new paragraph. Chase smirked. Period, new paragraph, open quote. You're not lying, comma, close quote, she said under her breath. Period, new paragraph. Situated in literally the middle of a giant field, comma, Elm Ridge Elementary was a two-story school. One-story school with a surrounded by a 10-foot-high fence. Period. Out back, comma, Chase could see the peeling paint of soccer posts, comma, the grass, the field upon which they sat, more dirt than grass, period to paragraph. As she pulled into the circular drive, comma, and parked her BMW outside of the large orange doors above which read Elmwood Elementary in giant block letters, comma, she added, comma, open quote, maybe it's nicer inside, period, close quote, in a paragraph. She got out of the car, comma, and started toward the front door, comma, only to realize after several dozen steps that Georgina wasn't with her, period, in a paragraph. Chase turned around and looked back at her niece, who was sitting in the passenger seat of the BMW, Backseat of the BMW, comma, her face pale, comma, her eyes wide, period, new paragraph, open quote. Come on, comma, Georgina, period. Get out of the car, period, close quote, new paragraph. Georgina shook her head, period, new paragraph. Chase groaned and made her way back to the car and opened the door herself, period, new paragraph. Still, comma, when Georgina refused to get out, comma, Chase reached inside and gently pulled her from the vehicle, period, new paragraph, open quote. I don't want to go here, comma, close quote. Georgina whined, period, open quote. It looks like a prison, period, close quote, new paragraph, open quote. Please, comma, Georgina, comma, have an open mind, period. They're waiting for us, period. Be nice and do the tour, period. We could talk about it afterwards, period, close quote, into paragraph. Georgina shook her head, period, into paragraph, open quote. I don't want to go here, comma, close quote, she repeated. A little louder this time, period, into paragraph, open quote. Georgina, period, into paragraph. Georgina shook free of Chase's grasp, period, into paragraph, open quote. This place is ugly, period. I don't want to go to this school, period. I want to go to Bishop's. Period. I want to go with X and Y, period. I want to, M dash, close quote, in paragraph, open quote. Miss Adams, question mark, close quote. A woman with a British accent said, period, new paragraph. After reprimanding Georgina with a look, comma, Chase put on her best fake smile and turned around, period, new paragraph. The woman who stood before her, comma, the woman whom Chase assumed was Mrs. Doubtfire. Whom she had spoken on the phone to about getting a tour for Georgina, comma, was dressed in a navy blue pantsuit and a white blouse, period. A pair of gold glasses hung around her neck, comma, dangling there from a chain that looked as if it had once been used to make sure you didn't lose the plug to your tub, period, new paragraph. The woman's hair was pulled back into a tight bun. The woman's gray hair was pulled back in a bun so tightly that Chase assumed she was using this as some sort of It lifted her eyebrows to the point where she seemed strangely optimistic. Period, new paragraph. Open quote. Yes, comma. I'm Chase. I'm Mrs. Doubtfire. Comma, close quote, the woman said, extending a hand, period, to paragraph, open quote. Just call me Chase, comma, close quote. Chase said as she shook the woman's hand, period, to paragraph. She expected the woman to say the same, comma, to ask to be referred by her first name, comma, but there was no such invitation issued, period, to paragraph, open quote. And is this Georgina? Question mark, close quote, to paragraph. Chase looked at Georgina, comma, shooting her a warning look, period, to paragraph. Georgina avoided all eye contact and nodded, period, to paragraph. Open quote. Good, comma. Well, welcome, comma, Georgina, comma, close quote, Mrs. Doubtfire said, comma, swiveling on her heels and receding back towards the door that hung open, period, open quote. Now come with me, period, close quote, in the paragraph. Chase reached out for Georgina's hand, comma, and was grateful when the girl took it, period. Only this time, comma, she suspected that Georgina was grabbing her hand because she was scared of Mrs. Doubtfire, period, in paragraph. And as Chase followed Mrs. Doubtfire into the school, comma, she realized that Georgina wasn't the only one who was afraid of the headmaster, period, in paragraph. New paragraph. Star, new paragraph, open quote. Star. Well, comma, thank you so much for the tour, comma, close quote, Chase said as she stepped back out of the Chase said as she led Georgina out of the back out into the sunlight, period. The moment she was outside, comma, she inhaled deeply through her nose in an attempt to clear the mold spores that she'd invariably inhaled inside Elmridge from her nasal passage, period, into paragraph. Open quote. You're very welcome, period. Now, comma, when can we see Georgina enrolling, question mark. Close quote into paragraph. Georgina squeezed Chase's hand tightly, period, into paragraph. Chase got the impression that this school was somehow funded by the number of students that attended, comma, given how desperate that Mrs. Doubtfire appeared to get Georgina to enroll, period, into paragraph. But whatever funding they got, comma, it clearly wasn't going to the upkeep of the interior, period, into paragraph. In the car, comma, Chase had suggested that perhaps the inside was nicer than the outside, period, into paragraph. In truth, comma, the opposite was true. The fuck? It's not Jason. It's Chase. I'm saying Chase. Semicolon. While the paint was mostly peeling on the outside of the building, comma, it was almost entirely gone from the inside, period. The worst part, comma, was the gymnasium, period, new paragraph. In some places, comma, the wood flooring, comma, which looked about 10 times as old as the building itself, comma, was peeling and pulling back, period. Twice, comma, Chase had stubbed her toe on an exposed nail, comma. And once, Georgina had tripped to the point where Chase had to actually grab her to stop her from falling, period. There were 3 basketball nets hung on the walls at various heights, comma, none of which had any sort of mesh to them, comma, and one of them had a rim bent nearly all the way downward so that it was parallel to the wall, period, into paragraph. Open quote. Well, comma, we still have a little bit of we still have a couple other schools to look at before we make our decision, comma, close quote. Chase finally answered when she realized that Mrs. Doubtfire was expecting a response, period, open quote. Don't we, Chase, question mark, close quote, in a paragraph. Georgina nodded so voraciously that Chase suspected that she might get whiplash, period, in a paragraph. This brought a small smile to Chase's lips, comma, but when she looked back at Mrs. Doubtfire, comma, the expression wasn't reciprocated, period, in a paragraph. The woman's mouth had become such a tight circle that it reminded Chase of an asshole. Period, in a paragraph. A puckering asshole, period, in a paragraph. There is no fucking way in hell that I'm letting Georgina go to this school, period, in a paragraph. It wasn't just the decor, semicolon. Obviously, this was important when it came to setting up a positive learning environment, comma, but in reality, it was more about the teachers and the students that mattered most, period, in a paragraph. Even a militant headmaster like Mrs. Doubtfire could be overlooked given the right combination of students and teachers, period, to paragraph. Unfortunately, comma, this is where Elmridge also fell short, period, to paragraph. The teachers seemed disinterested, comma, and twice, comma, in 2 of the 4 classrooms that they actually entered, comma, the teachers were actually on their cell phones while their students were causing a commotion, period. Although Chase had zero experience when it came to determining or determining what made a good school, comma, not having done any school tours before, comma, if yeah, give me a second. I'm trying to collect my thoughts here. I got a comment about this. Funny story that has happened to my husband Chase before. Oh, your husband's name is Chase. He's actually Jason. That is funny. I mean this. I think this is the first time it's done Jay a lot and Jason, but normally with all the other Chase books, like never fucks up like this. I gotta do some fine tuning maybe of this profile on Dragon. Yeah, people say to me like, why is Chase a guy's name? But I think Chase is a unisex name, primarily for men, I would imagine, or boys. But I don't think I've ever had anybody comment about that in a review. Not that I read all my reviews, but so right here, what I'm trying to say, because I'll tell you a story in a second, but I just can't spit it out. Two students, unbelievably, comma, when Georgina and Chase were leaving one of the classrooms, comma, math class, comma, although you couldn't tell by anything on the walls or board or books in front of the kids, comma, one boy had reached out and yanked a girl's pigtail, comma, she turned around and slapped him right across the face, period, new paragraph, undoubtedly. While kids would always just be kids, comma, and this was definitely taken out of context, comma, given Mrs. Doubtfire's demeanor, comma, and her desperate nature to get Georgina to enroll in the school, comma, it was obvious that she had given instructions for the kids and teachers to be on their best behavior, period, to paragraph, which meant that during normal times, Chase could only imagine how they behaved, period to paragraph. She shuddered as she quickly scooped Chase up and put her in the backseat of her car, period to paragraph. Still, comma, as they drove off, comma, Chase went to go wave at Mrs. Doubtfire, comma, the woman only just stood with her arms, spindly arms crossed over her chest and offered a curt nod, period to paragraph, open quote. Where are we going? Question mark, close quote. Georgina asked after they've been driving for several minutes, period to paragraph, open quote. Anywhere but here, comma, close quote. Chase replied under her breath, period to paragraph, open quote. Bishops? Question mark. Can we go to Bishops? Question mark, close quote, into paragraph. Chase sighed and looked up at her niece in the rearview mirror, period to paragraph. Open quote. Yeah, comma, close quote, she said, exhaling loudly, period, open quote. We could go look at Bishops, period. But I don't want you to get your hopes up, comma, Georgina, period, close quote, in paragraph. And yet, comma, despite her words, comma, that's exactly what Georgina did, period, in paragraph. She started to smile, comma, and even though she turned her face toward the window in an obvious attempt to hide this expression from Chase, comma, the smile continued to grow the further they got away from Elmridge Elementary, period. Oops. Okay. We got, yeah, we're okay. So we're back here. Kind of followed the format that I wanted there. I wanted them to get into a little bit more of a fight, but I just find that it's going to be impossible. Like, Chase is not going to force her to go to this shitty school. But it reminds me of when I was going to schools, to look at schools to see which one I would send my kids to. And, you know, it is such a, like, you go in the evening time. I don't know if this is the same for everybody, but our experience was you go in the evening time. You have this kid who is goes to the school, usually like grade 2 or 3, so quite young. 8 years old, something like that. And they come out and they introduce themselves and they say wonderful things about the school. And they take you to all these classrooms. And in the classrooms, there are no students, of course, because it's after hours. They have the teachers there, like demonstrating everything. There's exhibits. It's not grandiose by any means, but it is so wholly artificial that it's just impossible to get an idea of, which school is better than another. I don't even know what the criteria is for that. So after we're done, Ashley and I look at each other and like, was that a good school? She's like, well, look at the boy. He was so cute and so well spoken. And I said, definitely. The problem is they handpicked this child because of these attributes. It's not really necessarily an indication of how the rest of the students are, the student body as a whole. But I know some people who look at things as early as elementary school to see what the success rate in terms of where these kids go to their high school and then university and all those things. But in reality, we would just look for a place that I was obviously safe, had a pretty good reputation, and actually had a great reputation. What I meant is the criteria we were using is, how's the reputation, the proximity, can we walk there? That was a big thing. They have a lot of outdoor space. But when it comes to actual curriculum, the government is so strict in what they allow the teachers to do. There's such little variance between schools. It's hard to look at it that way. That was our experience. So I wanted to reflect that a little bit. As you guys know, a lot of the stuff that comes out, such as these little tidbits, which I definitely did not do a good job of verbalizing. I'll go back and fix it. But that's my life experience always comes out in all these characters. Not so much the heroin addiction or any of those extreme things, but these little tidbits I shoot in there. A lot of Beckett, a lot of stuff that happens to him is an exaggerated version that I kind of went through in working in the same field in pathology. All right, Linda wants paperback. I know you want the paperback. It's coming. The book, look, I'm working through it right now. We'll see. Usually about a week, as you know. Andy says old French word chassier means to catch, seize. Yeah, obviously the name Chase. Like when I choose names, they're no, obviously not Mrs. Doubtfire, which clearly is going to be changed. I just couldn't think of anything. I was sick of doing XYZ. But when I pick names of main characters, there is always like some meaning behind it. I don't know if that. Yeah, I think most people do that. If you look at the names of some, like Jack Reacher, for instance, he's always reaching for things psychologically. James Bond, he lacks a bond with any of the women that he copulates with, let's say. So, I mean, a lot of these things are intentional. I can't speak to those other authors, but like Tommy Wilde, his life becomes more wild. That one's less subtle, obviously. Some other names are just like cool names. I think that if you had a name like something super, super boring, then people would just be disinclined to pick up the book if they were on the fence, right? I'm not saying it makes or breaks a book, but you got to get people's eyes on it. The cover's got to be good. You got to get people interested in reading the blurb, and then from there, the story has to take over. So yeah, Chase, obviously, she was chasing after her sister forever. I don't know, didn't work out so hot, but when I came with the name, I just went with it. I don't spend too much time thinking of these names. I just think it's something cool and catchy, and maybe I'll send it to a couple people and ask their opinion. Sometimes my brother, who's always like, "That's a terrible name. Why does a detective have to be drunk? Why can't it be normal? Do normal things like give out parking tickets." Because no one wants to buy that book. That's why. Listen, I'm almost done my water, so that means I gotta get I got 2 cameras here. I can't even stay in frame. There's one here, and there's one here. I can't do it, man. And it's messing with my brain. So I'll be right back, guys. Give me 1 second. One second, guys. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, we get back at it. Did I wash my hands? Of course. Always clean the equipment at the gym. Always wash my hands. Do I have to give you proof? Do I have to show you that they're wet? That's what I have to do with the kids. They're always like, I did wash my hands. I'm like, that's not true. And then they just smell my hands. I'm like, okay. Now I really hope you did wash your hands. I'm debating how much information to put into. How much information? What is wrong with you guys in chat today? How much? If I should have them actually going to all of the parents, or if we should just kind of like do that thing where they're in the car talking about it, like, oh my god, that was hard. Might do that with one. I'm not really sure. It's Wednesday. It's hump day. Yep. And the reason why I say that, because one of these visits is going to be important. That's what I mentioned before. One of these visits is going to be important. There's going to be kind of like a nugget that was dropped, that will be dropped. But I don't know. I don't know if yeah, I want to make sure I contain it within these 4 chapters here. No, I'm just gonna go. Just gonna vibe, bro. I'm just gonna keep going. Too much time thinking, not enough time talking. Am I right? Floyd remained silent for the entire drive from 62nd Precinct. Like, is it 62nd Precinct? Do you guys remember the precinct that Drake used to work in with Dunbar? Is it 62nd, 42nd? I think I should know that after so many Drake books, but I can never remember. You guys are gonna be super annoyed too, because I can remember the girl's name that died, so it's gonna be another X and Y. Billy Bob. Billy Bob. To the parents of XYZ, comma, the third in the chain of girls who had jumped in front of the subway station. Car, period, new paragraph. Dunbar was nice enough to give him space, comma, to let him to recede into his own thoughts, period, new paragraph. Any hint of false bravado that he'd managed to muster up on his way to Madison's house, comma, before visiting the girl's father, comma, was so far buried down within him, comma, that he had no hope of ever recalling it anytime soon, period, new paragraph, if ever, period, new paragraph. He felt useless, semicolon. No, comma. He felt more than useless, M dash. He felt like a burden, period, new paragraph. He'd felt this way, of course. Only twice in his life had he felt like a burden, semicolon. Once when his uncle had begged his uncle for work, comma, before he'd gotten the gig of driving around important people in Alaska, period. The second time, comma, was when he'd been tracking down the dirty money killer, period, new paragraph. Both times, comma, he'd managed to make up for this quality, semicolon. He'd successfully driven around dozens of people for his uncle, comma, and despite how that relationship had eventually ended, comma, he'd met some interesting people and done some good work, period, new paragraph. As with the dirty money killer, comma, 4. If it hadn't been for him, comma, maybe Chase and Stitz wouldn't have made it through, period, new paragraph. Or both, period, new paragraph. But this time, comma, his dot dot dot. Floyd couldn't help, but this time was going to be different, period. Think that this going new paragraph couldn't there was just no way that he'd be able to make up for what he'd done, comma. There'd be no way for him to talk to these parents in a way that was rational and fair and empathetic, period, new paragraph. He just didn't have it in him, comma, and it appeared, period, new paragraph. Him. Open quote. Floyd? Question mark. You want to stay here or ... close quote in the paragraph. Floyd looked up at Dunbar and was surprised to see that they'd come to a stop. Period. Not only that, comma, but Dunbar was already half out the vehicle, period, in the paragraph. Open quote. I'm coming, comma, close quote. He said in a quiet voice as he unclicked his seatbelt and got out of the car, period, in the paragraph. He waited for Dunbar to walk around to his side and start up the walkway towards the front door, period. Unlike XYZ's house, comma, this was more modest, comma, but unlike Madison's father's place, comma, it wasn't an apartment building, period, new paragraph. It was a semi-detached home that was appeared to be cut out from a middle-class magazine, comma, complete with plastic flower boxes, but real flowers out on the front stoop, comma, the leaves of which had started to droop and change color, period, new paragraph. Open quote. You don't need to say anything, comma, Floyd, period. I'll do the talking, period, close quote. New paragraph. Floyd nodded, period, new paragraph. And Dunbar rapped his large knuckles off the metal door, period, new paragraph. A few moments later, comma, it opened, comma, and Dunbar and Floyd found himself staring at a woman in a tracksuit, comma, a water bottle clutched in one hand, period, new paragraph, open quote. Can I help you? Question mark, close quote, new paragraph. Dunbar took out his badge and indicated for Floyd to do the same, period. They held him up to the woman, comma, whose expression, comma, which had been strained as a result of whatever exercise she had just been in the process of doing, comma, suddenly became flaccid, period, new paragraph, open quote. Are you Mrs. XYZ, question mark. My name's Stephen Dunbar, and I'm a detective with the NYPD, period. This here, comma, close quote. Dunbar hooked a thumb over at Floyd, comma, close quote. Is Floyd Montgomery, comma, and he's with the FBI, period. Can we come in? Question mark, close quote. Open quote. Yes, comma, I'm Mrs. XYZ, period. What is this about? Question mark, close quote, new paragraph, open quote. I'm sorry, afraid I have some terrible news, comma, Mrs. XYZ, period. May we come in? Question mark, close quote, new paragraph, star, 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 new paragraph. Floyd slumped into the passenger seat, comma, of Dunbar's police car, period. It felt 20 times larger than it had before they'd pulled up, and Floyd tried to avoid being swallowed whole, period, new paragraph, open quote. He was beside him, comma, Dunbar sighed heavily, comma, his hands reaching for the steering wheel, period. There was a strange crackling noise as he gripped the wheel and twisted his wrists, period, new paragraph, open quote. Never gets easier, comma, close quote, the man grumbled, period, new paragraph. Floyd nodded, comma, his eyes locked straight ahead, period, new paragraph. He wanted to reach over and turn the car keys, comma, start the engine, comma, and then push on Dunbar's foot so that they could floor it and get the hell out of here, comma, as he'd done back at XYZ's house, period, new paragraph. It was silly, comma, it was childish. And it was childish, M-dash, the idea of putting temporal space between you and the psychological burden to alleviate it. M-dash. But the urge was so great that Floyd nearly gave in to it, period, new paragraph. Thankfully, comma, Dunbar eventually started the car and slowly pulled away from the curb, period, into paragraph. They drove in silence for several seconds, comma, but eventually Dunbar spoke up, period, into paragraph, while Floyd liked to recede inward to deal with his thoughts and emotions, comma. Dunbar was obviously someone who took an opposite approach, period, into paragraph, open quote. What do you think, comma, Floyd? Question mark, close quote, into paragraph. I think I want to go back to Virginia, period. Maybe even Alaska, comma. Start driving people around again, period. I think I'm not cut out for this shit, period, into paragraph, open quote. They're devastated, period. Why would she do this, question mark? Why would XYZ do this? Question mark, close quote, into paragraph. More creaking as Dunbar massaged the steering wheel again, period, into paragraph, open quote. I have no fucking idea, comma, Floyd, period. No clue, period. Close quote, into paragraph. Neither of the men had children of their own, comma, but Floyd didn't think that even if they had, this would have provided them any insight, period, into paragraph. Sometimes, comma, children behaved in a way that made no rational sense, period, into paragraph, and this was only exacerbated in teenage years, period, into paragraph. They didn't rarely had linear thought processes, comma, and their rationality seemed to regress from the time they were about 8 all the way to 16, period. At least, comma, this was something that he'd learned from one of his FBI classes, period, into paragraph. It never seemed more true than it did right now, period, into paragraph. 4 girls, comma, all popular, comma, all good looking, comma, just decide one morning to drink pumpkin spice lattes and throw themselves in front of a subway train, period, into paragraph. All after receiving one text, period, into paragraph, open quote. What kind of text? Open quote. What kind of text would make someone do this? Question mark, close quote, Floyd asked, period, into paragraph. At first, comma, he thought he'd just open quote. I have no idea. Comma, close quote. Dunbar answered, period, into paragraph. The reply startled Floyd as he hadn't realized that he'd spoken the question out loud, period, into paragraph. But now that he had, comma, he thought spent a little more time considering it, period, into paragraph, open quote. Do you think, do you think that they did something? Question mark, close quote, into paragraph. Dunbar looked over at him, comma. His eyes narrowed, period. Narrowing, period, into paragraph, open quote. What do you mean? Question mark, close quote, into paragraph, open quote. Well, I remember this case once that I learned about during the FBI training, comma, close quote. Floyd replied, comma, allowing his thoughts to drift back to that day in the classroom, period, open quote. There was this group of kids who two teenage girls took a third, comma, their friend, comma, out on their birthday, period. They took her out into the woods, comma, where they brutally murdered her, period. Then they went home as if nothing happened, period. When the police finally found the body and linked it back to them, comma, they said that Slender Man made them do it, period. Close quote in a paragraph, open quote. Yeah, comma, I think I remember that story, comma, close quote. Dunbar said absently, period, open quote. Took place in XYZ, question mark, close quote in a paragraph, open quote. XYZ, comma, close quote, Floyd confirmed, period, open quote. When they asked that, the thing about that case that always stuck with me, comma, outside of the obvious tragedy and horror of the events that transpired, comma, was the fact that there was no indication that anything like this was about to happen, period. There was no animosity towards the third friend, comma. The two just decided that one day they were going to live out this fantasy and kill her, period. The scariest part was that it could have been the two other friends that picked up on the third, comma, and that the perpetrators could have just as easily been the victim, period, close quote, in a paragraph, open quote. What does this have to do with Madison and her friends, question mark? They weren't murdered, period. You've seen the security footage, period. They jumped, period, close quote, in a paragraph. Floyd nodded, period, in a paragraph, open quote. Yeah, comma. I'm not doubting it, period. But what if they had done something horrible, comma? What if they weren't the victims here, comma, but they were the ones who perpetrated a crime so great that the guilt that had struck them was overwhelming, period. And they felt that they had to punish themselves before society and the justice system could take their toll, period, close quote, in a paragraph. It was a stretch, comma, but it was something, period, in a paragraph. Up to now, comma, Floyd had no idea what could have been sent to offer them, to make them act the way they had, period, in a paragraph. Open quote. You think they might have done something like kill somebody? Question mark, close quote, in the paragraph. Floyd shrugged, comma, and the more that Dunbar questioned him, comma, the less confident he became, period, in the paragraph, open quote. I don't know, comma, maybe they just sent them some video, period. Maybe there was maybe the girls had taken lewd photographs of themselves and sent it to the boyfriend, and it was going to go public, period, close quote, in the paragraph. When Dunbar said nothing, comma, Floyd looked over at him and he chewed the inside of his lip, period, in the paragraph, open quote. I don't know, period. We have had some suicides like that, comma, but 4 people, question mark, 4 popular girls, question mark. You know what, comma, Floyd, question mark. I'm gonna call into the station and get them to look into any crimes that might be related to these 4 girls, period. They've already been investigating whether they've been the victim of crime, comma, but I think you're right, comma. Let's look at whether they're the perpetrator as well, period, close quote, in a paragraph. Floyd perked up a little bit, comma, proud that he'd come up with the suggestion that the detective I don't know if you can see that. Seemed to appreciate, period, new paragraph. Now who's the childish one, question mark. New paragraph. Floyd shook his head, period, new paragraph, open quote. One more to go, comma, close quote, Dunbar said as he pulled into the next house, period, new paragraph. Unlike the first 3 that Floyd had attended, comma, XYZ's home was in a less affluent area of the city, period. Part of a row housing city project, comma. It wasn't the ghetto by any stretch, comma, but it didn't have the same charm or appeal as any of the other houses, period, new paragraph. Even Madison's father's apartment was a step up from this place, period, new paragraph. For some reason, comma, this made Floyd even more apprehensive, comma, as if people of lower class were more apt to be grief-stricken by a tragic loss, period, new paragraph. But after knocking on the door for roughly 5 minutes, comma, it was clear that nobody was home, period to paragraph. Relieved, comma, Floyd got back into the car, period to paragraph, open quote. I'll have one of the officers wait across the street, period. If they come home, comma, we'll call. When Mrs. and Mr. XYZ return home, comma, I'll get them to give us a call and we'll head back out, comma, close quote. Dunbar informed Floyd, period. But it was clear by the tone in his voice that he wasn't looking forward to another such encounter, period to paragraph, open quote. Where to now? Question mark, close quote. Floyd asked as Dunbar once again pulled away from the curb, period to paragraph, open quote. Back to the station, I guess, period. We'll go to the tech department and see if M dash close quote to paragraph. There was a loud ringing sound that interrupted Dunbar, period. He searched around the vehicle, comma, as if not knowing where the sound was coming from, period to paragraph. Eventually, comma, he pulled out his cell phone from his pocket and looked at it with a crossed, furrowed brow, period to paragraph. It was clear that the man wasn't in the habit of receiving personal calls when he was at work, period to paragraph. So much as Floyd knew about the man, comma, he knew that he wasn't married, comma, unless you counted the fact that he was married to his job, period to paragraph. The expression on Dunbar's face became even more curious when he read the number out loud, period to paragraph. Open quote. Sorry, comma, close quote. The man grumbled, period. Then he clicked answer, period to paragraph. The woman on the other end of the line shouted so loudly, comma, that it was as if she was in the car with them. Period to paragraph, open quote. Where is Madison? Question mark. Where the fuck is my Madison? Question mark, close quote. All right, chat. Super happy with the way that turned out. Yeah, I didn't want to do like, go to every. I know it's only 4, but when you spend like a chapter and a half of this whole thing going to the parents' house and grieving, it just, you're not gonna remain interested in that. It's gonna be the same shit, really. Parents upset, parents not. I'd really like to. That being said, though, I really like to show the different way that people react to tragedy, and in a sense, it reminds me of when people, yeah. So I listen to a lot of true crime, as you guys know, and everyone is always, or oftentimes, people are very suspicious of those who find out that their loved ones died and they're just completely flat affect, like they don't seem to care. And then there's other people who say, like, if you're crying a lot, then you're faking it. Then there's other people who react, like I said, too little or too much. There's a happy medium. And I think this is because it's human nature to think about how we would react in that scenario, right? Provided we're not guilty at all. And we kind of transpose that or project that onto how other people react. Not only is this not a good habit to do, but you can't really know how you are going to react in that scenario. So you're projecting how you think you would act onto someone else when you yourself are probably not going to react the way you think you are, right? Maybe you do. Maybe you have, unfortunately, experienced some tragedy of the nature that the characters experienced, but usually not, right? So people try to draw inferences from that, like, why is the person not crying? Why don't they seem upset? Well, people deal with grief in different ways based on their own genetics, their upbringing, all that kind of stuff. So I'm trying to show a little bit. So maybe I'll go back then and add in like one of the instead of having them freak out, Or maybe they will get someone at the door there when there was nobody there, and that person will just be completely flat. The parent will be just like, oh, okay, like, what do I do next? Where do I get the body? In fact, I'm going to make a note because I think that's a good idea. Here, I'll show you what I'm doing this time. So I just add this sentence in, so when I go through the editing phase, I'll be able to correct that. Not correct it, but add that in. It also can act as a nice kind of red herring, right? I mean, in that case, it would be way too obvious if the person who just doesn't seem to give a shit is the person who killed them. Or maybe it could be like those reverse red herrings. Who knows? I guess because you've been listening to my meanderings here, you know that that's not going to be the case. But that's my thought process in that. I think we can do a couple more chapters outside of what I outlined here, because this is going to get pushed to another chapter. Angry. Here's the spoiler. Mrs. Madison. There's a mosquito in my room. Get out of here. How are there still mosquitoes? It's too cold. Beat it. Don't know her name. Maybe I can combine it all into the chapters I set up. Let's see what we're working with now. Yeah, we're gonna be over about 30,000 words. That's all right. It's all right. There it is. I don't know if I got it. Who knows? Just taking a little breather. No more liquids. Some cold ass coffee. Oh, that's gross. Oof. Whereas Elmridge had been a dump, comma, Bishop's was a Bishop's was the complete opposite. Period to paragraph. As they pulled up into the large circular drive and were immediately intercepted by a crossing guard, comma. Chase had to double check the name to make sure that they'd come to the correct place, period to paragraph. And then, comma, in her mind, comma, she questioned whether or not this was actually a public school and not a private school, period to paragraph. Open quote. I'm sorry, ma'am, comma, but you can't park here, period. Are you here to pick up your child? Question mark. Close quote into paragraph. Chase rolled down the window and leaned out to speak to the portly looking woman with the orange vest and stop sign clutched in one gloved hand, period to paragraph. Open quote. No, comma, I'm here to do a tour, ... for my niece, period. She's thinking about going here, question mark, close quote, into paragraph. The woman smiled, period, into paragraph, open quote. Well, you could just go park over there in the visitor's lot, comma, and then if you want, comma, I could take you right inside and introduce you to the headmaster, comma, to Mr. Clark. Period. Close quote to paragraph. Chase's eyes followed the woman's extended finger, comma, and then looked back at her, period, to paragraph, open quote. You sure? Question mark. I can just M dash, close quote, to paragraph, open quote. No problem, comma, no problem at all. Period, close quote, to paragraph, open quote. Thanks, comma, close quote, Chase said, comma, rolling up her window, period, as she slowly drove to the parking lot that the stopping guard had indicated, comma. The woman crouched down low and wiggled her fingers at Georgina in the back seat, period, to paragraph. Georgina repeated the gesture, comma, grinning from ear to ear, period, to paragraph. Open quote. As Chase pulled into the parking spot and put the car into park, comma, she heard Georgina unclasp her seatbelt and immediately open the door, period, to paragraph, open quote. Wait, comma, wait, Georgina, comma, close quote, Chase said, comma, reaching back and holding the girl inside the vehicle, period, to paragraph. Georgina looked at her inquisitively, period, to paragraph, open quote. Yes? Question mark, close quote, to paragraph, open quote. I don't want you to get your hopes up, period. We're only here to look. Period, close quote, to paragraph. Georgina's smile faltered, comma, but only for a moment, period, to paragraph. Open quote. Okay, period, close quote, to paragraph, open quote. I'm serious, comma, Georgina, period. Close quote, to paragraph, open quote. I said okay, comma, close quote. Georgina repeated before hopping from the vehicle, period, to paragraph. It was all Chase could do to get out of the car and keep up with the girl, who was walking at a brisk pace across the parking lot, period, to paragraph. As they approached the woman with the stop sign, comma, she stepped out onto the road, and even though there were no cars coming for miles, comma, she held the stop sign up and gently guided Georgina to the other side, period, to paragraph, open quote. You new to the neighborhood? Question mark, close quote. The woman asked Georgina, period, to paragraph. When Georgina stumbled over an answer, comma, the crossing guard looked to Chase, period, to paragraph, open quote. No, comma, close quote. Chase said, scratching the back of her neck, period, open quote. We're not really from around here, period, close quote, to paragraph. Instead of judgment on the woman's face, comma, she just smiled even more vibrantly, period, to paragraph, open quote. That's all right, comma. We have tons of kids from all around New York come to Bishop's, period. And I don't want to put any pressure, comma, but if you come to this school, comma, you're gonna love it, period, close quote, to paragraph. No pressure my ass, comma, close quote. Chase thought with a frown, period. She wasn't really sure, comma, but for some reason Bishop's Academy, despite its well-maintained interior and its public reputation, comma, made her even more apprehensive of Georgina going to school than Elmridge did, comma, what with its Nanny McPhee of a headmaster and its gymnasium of death, period, to paragraph. It was a paradoxical reaction, comma. The crossing guard led them directly inside the school, comma, down a narrow hallway into an office that was manned by a portly secretary with shoulder-length blonde hair, period, to paragraph. She was even nicer than the crossing guard, comma, which sickened Chase, period, to paragraph, open quote. Hi, Mrs. Adams, comma, hi, Georgina, comma, I'm really sorry about this, comma, but Mr. Clark is in a very important meeting, period. He knows you're coming, and he wants you to know that your meeting is very important as well, period. He's going to be out of his office at any minute. Please, just sit down and wait, period, close quote, no paragraph. Chase looked around, comma, her eyes drifting to the plaques of top students that were plastered all over the small room, period, new paragraph, open quote. It's not a problem, comma, close quote, she said absently, period, new paragraph, open quote. Georgina, comma, would you like a candy? Question mark, a sweet, question mark, if it's okay with your mom, comma, of course, period, close quote, new paragraph. Georgina stepped forward, her hand outstretched, period, new paragraph, open quote. She's not my mom, comma, she's my auntie, period, close quote, new paragraph, open quote. Well, comma, auntie or mom, comma, you're gonna have to ask her if you can have a sweet, period, close quote, new paragraph. Open quote. It's fine, comma, close quote, Chase said, comma, still looking around the place, period, new paragraph. After. Open quote. What about you, comma, Mrs. Adams, question mark. Would you like a coffee, question mark, an espresso, question mark, close quote, new paragraph. Chase sat down on a chair and tapped the one beside her to indicate Georgina to do the same, period, new paragraph, open quote. No, comma, I'm good, period, thank you, period, close quote. New paragraph, open quote. You sure? Question mark, close quote, new paragraph, open quote. I'm good, period, close quote, new paragraph, open quote. Alrighty then, comma. Well, like I said, comma, Mr. Clark will be out any moment now, period. And if you have to use the bathroom, comma, it's right down the hall, period. Just let me know and I can take you right there, period, close quote, new paragraph. Chase offered no response to this, comma, other than a short nod, period, new paragraph. As they sat there waiting patiently, comma, she heard Georgina clacking the hard candy against her teeth, comma, a sound that quickly became grating to Chase, period, new paragraph, open quote. Stop doing that, comma, close quote. She said out of the corner of her mouth, period. Georgina looked at her confused and Chase shoved the tongue opened her mouth and pointed at her tongue, period, open quote. Can you please stop doing that? Question mark, close quote, in the paragraph. Georgina clacked her candy once more, comma, before nodding and sucking on it silently, period, in the paragraph. Everything about this school is wrong, comma, Chase thought, period. Everything, period, new paragraph. A few moments later, comma, a bell rang and the doors to the classrooms that lined the hallway outside the office started to open, period. The kids left the kids who filed out did so in a relatively organized manner, comma, which further annoyed Chase, period, new paragraph. They should be screaming and yelling, comma. They should be hooting and hollering, period, new paragraph. What the hell is in the water here? Question mark, new paragraph. As she watched the kids go, their faces and bodies became blurs. A blur, period. So much so, comma, that she didn't realize that two boys had stopped outside the office, period, new paragraph, open quote. Georgina? Question mark, close quote, new paragraph. To her right, comma, Chase felt Georgina bound to her feet, comma, and it was all... And she instinctively reached over to calm her, period, new paragraph, open quote. X! Exclamation point. Why! Exclamation point, close quote, new paragraph. Chase realized that it was Louise's children. Boys, comma, looking as cheerful as they had when they'd rushed into her log cabin just the night prior, period, new paragraph. They mustn't have gotten to bed before 10, comma, but you couldn't tell it by their expressions on their faces, period, new paragraph. They looked vibrant, comma, they looked happy, comma. They looked alive, period, new paragraph. They looked the way that Georgina looked when she was running down in the meadow, comma, picking up flowers and running her hands through the tall grass, period, new paragraph. Open quote. Do you boys know Georgina? Question mark, close quote, the secretary asked, period, new paragraph, open quote. Yeah, comma, we're friends, comma, close quote, Y said cheerily, period, new paragraph. Chase felt Georgina stiffen, period, new paragraph, open quote. Hey boys, comma, close quote, she said, period. New paragraph. Open quote. Well, comma, Mrs. Adams, comma, the boys are on lunch break now, comma. If you'd like, comma, you could have Georgina go with them and see what it's like to eat in the cafeteria, question mark, close quote, new paragraph. Chase looked over at the woman, comma, and tried her best not to sneer, period, new paragraph. She figured she was partially successful, period, new paragraph, open quote. No, comma, I think it's better that we stay here, period. I think it's better if M dash close quote in a paragraph, open quote. Chase, comma, please, comma, close quote. Chase looked over at Georgina, was surprised to see the pleading expression on her face, comma, her eyes, blue eyes big and wide, comma, her orange-tinged eyebrows pushing high up onto her forehead, period, new paragraph, open quote. Miss Adams, comma, it's perfectly alright, comma, we have 3 monitors and M dash, close quote, new paragraph, open quote. Mind your business, comma, close quote. Chase snapped, period, new paragraph. The woman pushed back in her chair, comma, causing it to roll a foot away from her desk, period, new paragraph, open quote. I'm sorry, comma, I'm very sorry, comma, close quote, Chase said immediately, period. Open quote. It's just very stressful, period, close quote, to paragraph. The secretary nodded tentatively and then grabbed the underside of the desk to pull herself closely again, period, new paragraph, open quote. I understand, comma, close quote, she said, period, new paragraph. Chat, you're distracting me. Can't focus. Choosing a school can be very, very stressful. Period, close quote, in paragraph. Chase didn't care for the emphasis that the woman had laid on the word stress. Full. Period, new paragraph. Open quote. I want to go, comma, close quote. Georgina whined even more dramatically now. Period, new paragraph, open quote. We'll take good care of her, comma, close quote. X and Y promise, period, new paragraph, open quote. Thank you, boys, comma, but Georgina will stay with me. Period, close quote, new paragraph. Open quote. But we'll, M dash, close quote, new paragraph, open quote. Go enjoy your lunch, comma, XY, comma, close quote, the secretary said to the boys, comma, her eyes remaining locked on Chase's, period, open quote. You don't want it to get cold, period, close quote, in a paragraph. The boys looked at each other, then at Georgina, comma, then shrugged and hurried away, comma, offering a short goodbye to Georgina as they left, period, new paragraph. Sulking now, comma, Georgina slumped herself back into her chair, only to be encouraged to rise a second later when the door to the office opened and Mr. Clark stepped out, period, new paragraph. The man was tall, comma, 6'5" or greater, comma, with a spindly frame, period. He had an oak-colored mustache, comma, round glasses, comma, and thinning hair top of his head, period, new paragraph. He looked exactly like you would picture a man who ran an institution such as Bishop's Academy should look, period, new paragraph, open quote. Mrs. Adams, I presume? Question mark, close quote, new paragraph. Chase stepped forward and held out her hand, period, new paragraph. Mr. Adams shook it, period, new paragraph, open quote. I am very, very sorry for the delay, comma. Close quote, he said, period to paragraph, open quote. That's fine, comma, not a big deal, period, close quote into paragraph. Mr. Adams. Clark. Held her gaze for a moment longer before turning his attention to Georgina, comma, dropping onto one knee to be at eye level, period, to paragraph, open quote. Hi, Georgina, comma, I'm Mr. Clark, period. I'm the principal at Bishop's Academy, period, close quote, to paragraph. Georgina held out her hand, and Mr. Clark shook it, period. Then he rose to his feet and gave Chase a look, period, to paragraph, open quote. Very polite, comma, I see, period, close quote, to paragraph, open quote. Most of the time, comma, close quote, Chase said, comma, allowing a small smile to creep back onto her face, period. Despite her apprehension about this place, comma, about Bishop's Academy and everything that it meant, comma, everything that it encompassed, comma, she felt herself easing a little bit, period, to paragraph, open quote. Well, comma, why don't we get started on that tour then? Question mark. Would that be good? Question mark. Comma, Georgina, question mark, close quote, in paragraph, open quote. I think that would be great, comma, close quote, Georgina said, comma, the smile returning to her round face, period. All right, guys. Dude, I love that chapter. The chapter was great. Super fun to write. Okay, dude, I got a little distracted. I'm still getting used to this chat. I'm just new to Twitter, and I'm loving the Twitter community. I obviously love the Facebook guys as well, but Twitter seems to be hitting that chat button, which is great. Okay, so welcome, my baby Sky. So she asked, where's the sub button on Twitch? Did I say Twitter? I meant Twitch. See, look, I'm a noob. No way to send bit to. Yeah, so the deal with that is I'm just getting started on Twitch, and I don't have access to those things yet. Hopefully soon, but I really appreciate the thought. Miranda, you like the program? The program that I'm using is Dragon Naturally Speaking. It is, I think, just the individual edition, and it is great. I've said this before. Other people can get like 99% accuracy. I would kill for the accuracy. I usually get about 80%, but it just allows me to tell a story. I think telling it verbally not only saves my hands, these sausage fingers, from typing all day, but it's a more natural way of telling a story for me, despite the need to do the the punctuation, which I don't find is a detriment to telling the story. It just happens naturally. Oh, Sky, you have 6. Oh, love from Chicago, well, love from Montreal. You know what? There's gonna be a Sky. One, I think this is your first time here. If it is, like, I'm always talking about how I cannot come up with enough names. After like 50 books, all the names are recycled. I gotta keep them like in line with the age of the character. I'm not gonna. I think some. Not like newer names came up to name for older characters didn't work, but Sky is gonna be a perfect name for in a couple chapters, so I'm gonna use that. Thank you very much. I'm just gonna go with Sky. Candace Sky, beautiful name. I'm just gonna go with Sky. Yeah. I don't like doing like first and last names, although I steal last names. I steal last names from everybody in chat all the time. Thanks, Miranda, for following me on Twitch. I really appreciate it. Trying to build a bit of a following there. I know it's mostly geared to gamers, and so is Facebook now, to be honest with you. But they do have like this nice just chatting. I think the interface on Twitch, because it's designed exclusively for live streaming, it is much more robust and a lot more fun things that you can do, especially when you can do like raids, which means that you send all your viewers to other people you think they would enjoy. You can add like funny graphics, stuff like that. I am just getting into it, but I really like this Twitch thing. Also on YouTube, but YouTube seems to be very, very slow growing. It's more for, someone mentioned it's more for like refined final product videos, which definitely this isn't, which I kind of agree with. All right. Well, thank you, Miranda. And Spooks Inc. Love it. No, I do YouTube. I mean, I'm on here live right now, but it takes a lot of time to put together final, like even doing all the graphics that I did for this took me forever. I really need to hire someone to take the all of the live streaming things that I've done and condense them down, make them look nice and pretty, try to fix up this mug so I'm not, deterrent to people, and then send it on there. Tips on how to create books? What do you mean? Like how to write books? Yeah, I could do that. I try to do that as I'm talking. I know that I have a lot of authors that are on here or listening or watching or looking, reviewing the videos. So I try to give them little hints about what I'm doing, what I'm trying to accomplish. Who's my favorite writer? I have a lot of favorite writers. Right now I'm really partial to independent writers, and one of my favorites, I think I had her on last week. You can go back. I think it's in the archive. Yeah. Yeah. I'll pull it up for you there, Baby Sky. 1 second. Dude, Victoria, you are pure trolling me today. I don't have a craft services. I just had a sandwich that my lovely daughter made me, so I have not had a bite. But I don't have makeup and wardrobe. Listen, it takes me an hour to do this. Just to brush this gnarly beard, it takes me an hour. Let me look at it. Oh, no. So, if you're looking for a new author to read, or a new team of authors, I guess, my baby, I would highly recommend Lex Vargas, that's LT Vargas, and her partner Tim McBain. Their books are fantastic, and I'm super partial to them because they also write horror and thriller like I do. So they have a bunch of horror books that I also highly recommend. And if you want to know a little bit more about this book in particular, I don't know how Twitch archives things, but definitely on Facebook, they'll have an archive of the hour-long chat that we had, having a few drinks and just shooting the shit. It was a lot of fun. Oh, that reminds me, I'm still looking into getting another author on this week or next, but that's what I would recommend. Whatever. You thought I'd be older? No, I am 38 years young. I've got the body of a 18-year-old, the mind of a 80-year-old. No, I don't know. I'm 38 years young. I love Christopher Pike. R.L. Okay. R.L. Stein. He's a bit old. I love Christopher Pike growing up. I started out reading first R.L. Stein, and then Christopher Pike, and then Clive Barker and Stephen King. I think one of my favorite books of all time is The Great and Secret Show by Clive Barker. So if you haven't read that, I super highly recommend it. In fact, I kind of borrowed a little bit of that whole quiddity idea that I used in my Haunted series. That kind of came from there. All credit to him, of course, for coming. Actually, he didn't come up with the word, but that kind of idea of a soul, I borrowed from that. Yeah, so my favorite writers right now, I think would be Lex Vargas, Tim McBain, and I'm a huge fan of also Anne Fraser. The Body Reader was great. But this book was fantastic. I really enjoyed this book. Highly recommend it. And I don't know if you, I say this trick all the time, but for the new people here, I'm super interested in audiobooks. The way, I missed some comments before, but the way that you can get it for super cheap is to buy the Kindle, and oftentimes there's like a button to say you can add the audio for like $2. So in this case, I've already done it, so I can't do it again. But it looks like for like $4 you could get, even less, $3.50 you can get the book and audiobook, and that's a good way to support the author. Okay, sorry, I missed some comments. Let me go back here for a second. What are we doing? Audiobook style or creating book? Yeah, this is how I write my books. I dictate, and the program translates it in my voice into words. And this is how I've done the last like 20 or so books. I don't outline, I don't plot, other than having a rough idea in my head. Organ donor's a bit slow. Yeah, it definitely picks up though. And Victoria says, I love X and Y. Their names should be X and Y. Okay, I might go with X. That'd be like an inside joke for everyone who's joining here. Oh, my baby. This one you read, Find Me? Super great. That idea, I'm not going to spoil it, but about the main character is really good. And very dark, man. Super dark. John Mars? Did we talk about this before? Oh. Oh. The one. I am intrigued. This one's really good. You're killing me with this. 10.29 for an ebook, though. Give me a break. All right, I'll grab it. I'll also grab the audio. Grab the audiobook. I'm big into audiobooks. Getting a pretty big stash, though. All right, let's go. Let's go. It's gone. Better be good. Victoria, counting on it. Tim Curran. I think I've read Tim Curran. Is he like the Hansel and Gretel guy? Oh, I have not read Tim Curran. And you said Fear Me was the one you picked up? Okay, I'm familiar with Tim Curran. I don't think I've read his books before. Okay, Victoria, are we talking extreme horror here? Are we talking Matt Shaw territory? Because I've already voiced my opinion on this. Which was, just, it's not for me, but I understand the appeal. Alright. Go to Fear Me. Okay, I'm gonna give it a try. I'm gonna hit that buy button here. Okay, all right. I'm digging it. I'll get it. Man, these live streams are costing me way more money than I'm actually making here. Come on, guys. No, I'm just kidding. I really appreciate it. It's a real cough, but it's because my voice. Door to store. I appreciate the recommendations. No, Matt Shaw cannot be Netflix. Although, yeah, maybe not. There was a movie I saw on Crave. Crave is the company that does like carries HBO here, and it was brutal, like cannibals and shit. It was crazy. That green something. Wow, it was insane. So maybe there's room for that. Matt Shaw makes his own movies though. I think puts on Amazon. If you guys are into extreme horror, then Matt Shaw is going to be probably the guy you want to go take a peek at. I take 3.5 minutes to get ready. The gym wedding. Okay, don't really need to get ready for the gym. No, I'm only teasing you. I really appreciate the suggestions. I'm always looking for new authors to read. Mostly listen to be honest though. I do a lot of my reading when I'm like at the gym or walking to pick up the girls from school or whatever, just driving in the car. So I like to listen to my books and consume media that way. I went on a pretty big audiobook kick there when I did like Find Me because I enjoyed it so much. I switched over to the other book called When I Was You. I think I talked about this a couple of streams ago. Like there's something about that first person perspective that I can't get into, so I haven't finished that one. So I took a hiatus and instead I went back to my audiobooks. My podcasts. And funny that you bring this up because though that we brought up Find Me, because super similar to that. I'm also nervous about showing like my phone here to get something embarrassing. But this podcast, I don't know how to make the camera focus here. Two-Face I think it's called Happy Face, but it's about it's a true story about the daughter of a well-known serial killer, and about how she's now older and she's trying to come to grips with what her father had done and some of the victims that were left from the wake of his reign of terror. And it's really, really interesting to hear. It's difficult to hear, obviously, given the subject matter, but it's fascinating. It reminds me a lot of Find Me in some ways. I was just Googling you earlier and saw you on Twitch and Google search, and here I am. Well, thank you for joining. So the baby Sky, I'll just call you Sky. I spent like 13 years studying pathology. So for a while I worked as a pathologist, and I guess I wanted an extreme character. Actually, I think the character Beckett he's kind of based on the pathologist who's a woman from the show The Killing, or was it The Fall? I cannot remember. I always get those mixed up. I know, it's so annoying. But he's kind of based on her, not the killing aspect, the fact that she's kind of cool and kind of, she rides a motorcycle and is outside the norm of what you would think of a pathologist or someone in the field of medicine. So that's what that was based on. And I really wanted to write those books as kind of an outlet for me more than anything else. Like, I write a lot of dark things, a lot of dark thrillers. So when it came to Beckett, obviously it's crazy dark, but I needed that injection of humor, and it helps me deal with everyday life when I can vent through Beckett, right? Because you would never say the things that he says, most of them anyways, but in addition to that, like, sometimes you want to say those things. You just want to tell people off and say, listen, just fuck off, leave me alone, or just say some absurd things because you think the world is crazy, which it is. And so Beckett's an outlet for that. So it's a little bit like a super exaggerated version of me, but I don't kill people. You can't read present tense? Nope. Can't read present tense either. Can't do first person. I think I'm just not used to it. I use third person past tense, and that works for me. And we talked about this at length, I think, when Lex Vargas was on, and we're talking about what it would be like to write a present tense book. And I had to refresh my memory as to what that is, but it's really weird. Think of things happening in real time as opposed to in the past. Can you imagine Mercedes? Could you do, is it Mercedes? Like Mercedes, like the vehicle? Could you do like first person present tense? That would just be like nails on a chalkboard. Could not do that. Yeah, I'm just call me traditional when it comes to this. I don't know if it's tradition. I don't know what the most common is. I would think that it's third person past tense, but when most people start doing anything, writing included, you start by emulating the people that you enjoy in that profession. So it's just natural for me because it's the way Stephen King, Clive Barker, all those guys wrote or write. So that's the way I kind of grew up doing it, and it just becomes a habit. Right. Mercedes. I like that name. Maybe you'll be featured as well. What is my favorite theme in horror? That's a good question. I'm gonna switch this over because what is my favorite? I don't know if I can answer that. Dude, it's so annoying that I can't answer that because I've yet to. So vampire. Have you ever read Justin Cronin's series? For the life of me, I cannot remember the name of it. Justin Cronin wrote, like, the third book was City of Mirrors or something. Why is it not showing up? The Passage, that's it. So I was thinking to myself, like, have I read any good vampire books lately? And I was thinking show, but then I remember this. I didn't watch the show. I don't think it got very good reviews, but I absolutely loved The Passage. I thought it was awesome. And the idea of having like this young girl at the heart of it. And I know that based on what he's spoken to the media about, it was a book for his daughter. His daughter really wanted the savior to be a young girl like she was at the time of writing. And I did the same thing, a very similar thing in the Haunted series, where I used the young girl as kind of the crux, I guess, of that storyline, like keeping everything together to some degree. So I love that kind of book. I don't know, I like demon books as well. It really depends what kind of mood I'm in. Sometimes I love to just read silly or even watch silly, B horror flicks. I like those too, slashers, that sort of thing. So it depends. Lately though, to be honest with you, I've read a lot of thriller. I'm more in like the thriller kick, let's say. And I think that just follows my writing trajectory, my writing career to date. I've done a lot of horror books to start, or I did a lot of horror books, transitioned to thriller, and I'm always promising to go back to horror, but as of yet I haven't done it. Yeah, Mercedes, it's completely normal and natural for people to emulate the style or even like the format that their favorite authors use, or favorite artists, or whatever the case may be when it comes to creative endeavors, and then gradually you kind of find your own way, your own voice. All right, we're rocking at about 2.5 hours here. I really wanted to get through these things, but I'm gonna eat lunch. I'll tell you what, guys, I'm gonna do some formatting here just because I am going to go eat this delicious sandwich that my daughter made me because I'm pretty hungry. And I'm going to take a bit of a break. I've been going at it for about 3 hours. I feel like I'm getting more into the rhythm now, though, as opposed to when I started the story. And I feel like that's, again, 2 reasons for that. 1 is because muscle memory is really kicking in. And 2, because I'm into the story a little bit more. So that's why I kind of don't want to stop, but I also need to get a bite to eat. I'll probably pop back on. Maybe let's say, holy, it's 2 o'clock. See, that's what happens when you don't go live on time. Maybe I'll pop on around 3 for another hour. I'll pop on for another hour and keep going. Just try to get into this part. I'll just answer the last few questions. Have you seen Bloodfest? No, I've never heard of it. I'm gonna look that up real quick. Okay, cool. Kind of like a Scream kind of idea. I might check that out. Do you plan on doing a trilogy book or a series book? Sky, all my books are a series. I love writing in series. I love the idea of exploring a character over a broader timeline, which really series lends it to do. And also from a business perspective, series is what sells really well. People fall in love with the characters and people want to see them continue indefinitely. And that's really my plan. I think the only series that I've so far ended has been Beckett's series, but that one will be, well, I'm not going to do any spoilers. Yeah, I have a few ideas of some standalone stories. There'll be more of, I don't want to call them passion pieces because they're going to be related to my current stories, and I hope they're going to sell well. They're not like super niche genres or anything like that, but I have no intention of making those into series. Just some ideas that I had that I just really want to put out in a new book. So yeah, so that's everything. Sky, you're welcome to join when I come back. Yeah, The Haunted is not done yet. I know. I really appreciate you guys hanging out, chatting, and I love the interaction. So you guys have a good hour or so. Sky, just talk to the owner of the bookstore. Yeah, I see that, Victoria. Talk to the owner of the bookstore and ask them to carry more of my books. They're all available. They should be available at your library too. I mean, I'd prefer if you buy it, if you can afford it, if it works for you financially. But also just go to your library and say, hey, listen, librarian, lady or man, can you please pick up these books? And then they're able to buy them. Actually, as a point, that's one of the reasons why my paperbacks are a little bit more expensive. It's complicated, but I do that because it has to be that price in order for libraries to pick them up. And when libraries pick them up, someone said to me the other day, this interesting story. Someone said to me, "Do you get paid every time someone takes a book out of the library?" And I was like, "No." And they said, "You should." And I was thinking about that, and I don't really know how the business of a library works, but I think I just get paid one time when the library buys the book. I get like $2, and that's why the prices of my paperback are a little bit higher. Complicated. Anyways, I'm rambling again. So yeah, go to your library, ask your librarian, "Hey, can you pick up these books?" And they should be able to find them all on Overdrive or wherever they get their books from. And audiobooks too. Audiobooks, I think can you get those from the library? I don't know. All my books are in audio. If they're not, it's because of my fault. I haven't proofed them yet. I know that some more are coming. But that's it for me, guys. I'm going to be back in an hour. Eat the sandwich, drink some more water, rest these vocal cords, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the afternoon. I hope to see you back soon.